How many of these 19 RV security traps are you ignoring right now without knowing they exist? Most RV owners think about the door lock and maybe a camera and consider themselves covered. The traps in this video are the ones that experienced full-timers and long-term travelers figured out after something went wrong, or after watching something go wrong at the next site, and they are the ones nobody puts in the owner's manual. The big idea behind all of them is that RV security is a layered system, not a single product. An opportunist, which is the person responsible for the vast majority of RV theft and break-ins, is making a quick calculation about effort versus reward versus risk of being noticed. Every visible deterrent, every lock that requires a tool to bypass, every behavioral habit that reduces your predictability, every additional minute of effort required shifts that calculation away from your unit and toward the next one. The goal is not impenetrability. The goal is to be more trouble than the next unit on the loop. That is an achievable standard, and it costs a fraction of what a single break-in costs to recover from. An iOverlander thread specifically on RV security across North America collected over 300 responses from travelers who had been targeted or had close calls. The consistent pattern in that thread was that the units that were passed over had multiple visible layers. The ones that were hit had none. Stick around to the end because the payoff covers the one insurance gap that most standard RV policies have that costs people thousands of dollars in claims they did not know they could not recover. Starting with the theft vulnerabilities most owners have never thought about. Trap 1, the generator. Generators are the single most commonly stolen external RV accessory according to RV owner forums and insurance claim data. A portable or chassis-mounted generator can be disconnected and removed in under 60 seconds by someone with basic mechanical knowledge and a truck. A dedicated braided steel cable lock, roughly the weight and diameter of a standard bicycle U-lock, run through the generator frame and secured to a fixed chassis point with a padlock, turns that 60-second removal into a multi-minute cutting operation that produces noise, requires tools, and draws attention from neighboring sites. A quality cable lock rated for 5/16" cable, which is roughly the diameter of a standard pencil, costs $25 to $35 at any hardware or auto parts store. Most generators worth stealing cost $800 to $3,000. The math on the cable lock is not complicated. This is the lowest cost-to-protection ratio item on this entire list, and also the most consistently absent on units at every campground I have stayed at. Trap 2, the exterior storage compartment latches. Every external storage bay on most RVs uses a simple twist-open T-handle latch, with a standard key shared across most models from the same manufacturer, and frequently across multiple brands in the same price tier. The key to your storage bay probably opens the unit parked one site over. This has been confirmed in RV owner communities enough times that it is not a rumor. It is a known manufacturing cost reduction. A hasp padlock through the existing latch hardware on each compartment converts every bay into an individually locked storage area for under $10 each. You do not need to modify the latch or the frame. The hasp drops over the existing mechanism. The limitation is that a pry bar defeats any hasp padlock given enough leverage and time. But that is a tool and effort scenario that most opportunists will not bring to a campground storage bay when the next unit has an unlocked door 3 sites away. Trap 3, the leveling jack pins. Aftermarket locking pins installed through the hydraulic or scissor jack mechanism in the deployed position make the unit physically immovable even if every other lock on it is defeated. The jacks cannot be retracted to lower the unit for towing without removing the pins, which requires the key. A set of 4 pins costs about $40 to $60. For units that spend extended time at one location, these are the backup layer behind the hitch lock and chock combination. The failure mode is that they only work when the jacks are deployed. If you are parked without jacks down, this layer is not active. Trap 4, the dashcam on the tow vehicle in parking mode. A dashcam with a Monauto-activated parking mode records anyone who approaches, touches, or tampers with the tow vehicle while the engine is off and the unit is parked. Most quality dashcams from Vantrue or Blackview with parking mode capability hardwire to the vehicle electrical system with a voltage cutoff that disconnects recording before the battery drops below a threshold that would prevent starting. They capture license plates, faces, and the full sequence of events during any tamper attempt in low light. That footage is recoverable to a phone or computer after the fact and provides law enforcement with actionable information that a verbal description never does. I did not think parking mode was worth the hardwire installation until a rest stop on I-10 in Arizona, where I came back to the truck with a fresh scuff on the rear bumper that had not been there when I parked. The camera showed a pickup that had made 2 slow passes through the lot before pulling away. Nothing was taken, but whatever was being considered was visible on the recording. The dashcam was already installed, and it paid for itself in that 30 minutes. Trap 5. The tire pressure monitoring system used as a real-time tampering alert. A TPM's unit that pushes notifications to your phone when any tire pressure drops suddenly is sold as a road safety product for detecting tire failures in transit. Its security function is different and rarely discussed. A sudden pressure drop on a parked unit at 3 a.m. means one of 3 things. A valve core was removed, a tire was punctured, or the vehicle is being jacked. Any of those is a reason to be awake and aware before the situation develops further. TPM systems with Bluetooth or cellular phone connectivity run about $40 to $80 for a complete set of sensors, which is roughly the cost of 1 to 2 tanks of fuel for a diesel truck. And the road safety application on its own recovers that cost in 1 tire blowout warning on a highway. The security application is a side benefit that requires no additional setup. The sensor is already on the wheel. The phone alert is already configured. You get both for the same cost. Trap 6. Back-in parking so the entry door faces the main campground lane. The entry door is the primary access point. An approach to the entry door that requires walking past neighboring sites and into the view of anyone on the main loop is a visible approach. Forced entry at a door facing outward toward a lane with foot traffic is observable activity in a campground that is never fully asleep. Back into every site where the site configuration allows it. The door faces out. Any approach to it is in the open. Trap 7. Campground vetting before arrival. Campendium, Google reviews, and RV-specific forum threads. On platforms like IRV2 and the RV.net forums contain reported theft incidents, break-in patterns, and security notes that are never reflected in the official campground listing or booking page. 30 minutes of research before booking or arrival changes the decision about where to stay or what level of security setup is warranted. A campground with 3 reported theft or break-in incidents in the past year is a different security environment than one with a clean record. The information is publicly available. It is searchable. The campground host is not going to tell you about the series of generator thefts that happened 6 months ago. The reviews will. This is the only completely free item on this list, and it has a higher impact on your actual security outcome than most of the paid options. Trap 8. The perimeter motion sensor alarm with an interior receiver. A standalone battery-powered motion sensor placed on a stake or leaned against a tree stump in front of the unit connects via radio signal to a base receiver inside the coach and produces an alert chime when motion is detected. The sensor range is typically 20 to 30 feet, roughly the distance from the unit entry door to the edge of a standard developed campsite or to the nearest campground road. When the sensor trips, the chime inside gives you 30 to 60 seconds to assess the situation from a secured position before anyone reaches the door. You know someone is approaching before they arrive rather than when they knock. These systems run on standard AA batteries, require no installation beyond placing the sensor, and cost about $25 to $40 for a sensor and base receiver set. Chamberlain and Dakota Alert both make reliable units that RV travelers use in this application. If you are getting something useful out of this, hit subscribe. More of these coming. Trap 9. The hidden magnetic key lockbox on the underframe. A spare key in a magnetic lockbox attached to an inconspicuous location on the underframe, the wheel well area, or behind a frame crossmember allows emergency access without breaking in and without needing to carry the spare key on your person. The location is known only to you and one trusted contact. When you are locked out at a campsite at 10 in the evening and the locksmith is 2 hours away, this is the $30 solution you will wish you had installed. The box itself weighs about 4 ounces, roughly the weight of a standard deck of playing cards. Trap 10. The awning arm cable lock. Awning arms on RVs are bolted to the exterior wall with standard socket hardware that is fully accessible from outside. A person with a socket wrench and the right size can remove a standard awning arm in under 10 minutes. Replacement arms run $200 to $400 depending on the brand and arm length, and most require professional installation. A braided cable lock, roughly the diameter of a pencil at about a 1/4 inch, run through the awning arm mounting hardware and secured to a fixed frame point prevents removal without a cutting tool. The cable needs to be long enough to loop through the mounting bracket and back to the frame, typically about 3 feet, which is roughly the distance from your shoulder to your wrist extended. Most campers have never considered the awning as a theft target until they hear about someone who had one removed. Trap 11. VIN etching on all exterior glass. Etching the vehicle identification number into every window on the unit with an inexpensive etching kit from any auto parts store, typically under $20, marks every pane of glass as traceable and linked to a specific registered vehicle. A thief evaluating an RV for a smash and grab or a total unit theft sees the etching and understands that the glass cannot be removed and resold without advertising where it came from. It also makes recovery easier if the unit or its parts are found at a secondary market location. The etching process takes about an hour for a full unit. Some insurance companies offer a small premium reduction for VIN-etched vehicles, which offsets the material cost within the first policy year. This is a permanent modification that requires no ongoing maintenance and produces a visible signal to anyone doing a walk-around reconnaissance of the unit. Trap 12. The Battery Master Disconnect Switch. A manual battery disconnect switch installed in line with the main 12-volt system cuts all electrical power to the unit when you are leaving it unattended for an extended period, whether that is a day hike, an errand run, or a multi-day absence with the unit in storage. Some electronic entry bypass tools used to defeat keypad or powered door lock systems require the coach electrical system to be active to function. Cutting the battery at the main disconnect removes that access pathway. The switch also eliminates the parasitic battery drain that leaves full-time RV units with dead house batteries after extended storage periods, which is a secondary benefit that most people discover only after they need it, and the battery is dead. Disconnect switches cost $15 to $30 and install in an afternoon with basic electrical knowledge. The switch should be in an accessible but not obvious location, accessible to you and invisible to anyone who has not been shown where it is. Trap 13. The Personal Property Insurance Rider for RV Contents. Standard RV insurance policies in most states cover the coach structure and the permanently attached mechanical systems. They frequently do not cover personal property inside the coach at replacement value. In many policies, personal belongings are excluded entirely or capped at a nominal sublimit, often $500 to $1,000 total regardless of the actual value of the contents. A laptop, a camera system, a handgun, outdoor gear, tools, clothing, and cash stored in the coach fall into this category. A personal property rider extends coverage to these items at actual replacement cost rather than depreciated value. The cost is typically $20 to $40 per month, depending on the total insured value declared. I did not know this gap existed until a specific thread on ARV of Living about insurance claims after break-ins collected over 200 responses. And the single most common complaint was that the owner had assumed their RV policy covered everything the way homeowners insurance does, discovered at claim time that it did not, and received a fraction of the replacement cost for the stolen items. That thread is findable by searching RV Living for Insurance Personal Property RV Contents Claim. Read it before you need to file a claim. Trap 14. The External Refrigerator Vent Security Cover. The external refrigerator access vents on the exterior wall of most RVs provide necessary ventilation for the refrigeration system, but are also an entry point on some older model year units where the vent panel attaches with simple hardware. A locking vent cover replaces the standard hardware with a keyed mechanism that prevents the vent panel from being removed from outside. This is a low-probability entry method, but a documented one on certain model years, particularly on units from the mid-2000s. The covers cost about $15 to $25 per vent. Trap 15. The Steering Wheel Club on motorhomes. The Club Anti-Theft Bar, or any equivalent steering wheel lock, is a highly visible psychological deterrent at the front of the vehicle. A thief evaluating a motorhome for an opportunistic drive-away theft sees the steering wheel restrained and makes the same calculation as seeing a hitch lock on a trailer. This one requires tools, time, and significant noise to bypass, and the next block has an easier option. The visual deterrent does the majority of the security work. The physical restraint is the secondary layer. A club runs $30 to $50 and requires no installation. You place it on the steering wheel and remove it with key when you return. The limitation is that a determined person with the right tools can defeat any steering wheel lock given enough time. That is true of every physical deterrent on this list. The point is not defeating determined effort. It is making casual effort unattractive. Trap 16. The Neighbor Watch Arrangement at Unfamiliar Campgrounds. Introducing yourself to one neighboring site within the first hour of arrival and establishing a basic awareness arrangement costs nothing and takes 3 minutes. The conversation does not have to be security specific. You introduce yourself, you mention you are going to be at the site for a night or two, and you say something like, "If you see anyone messing around our rig when we are not around, we would appreciate knowing about it." The neighbor now has a face associated with your unit. Any activity around the unit that does not involve you gets noticed and registered differently than it would have otherwise. You have also just created a mutual awareness situation, because the conversation runs both ways. You will notice activity around their site as well. My wife pointed out that we do this automatically at every site where we are comfortable with the campground, and that we have almost never done it intentionally at the sites where we were uncertain or unfamiliar, which is exactly backwards. The sites where you do not know the environment are precisely the ones where the neighbor-watch conversation matters most. Trap 17, reflective privacy window coverings that eliminate the exterior view into the coach. Before committing to a break-in, most opportunistic thieves do a walk-by to confirm that visible electronics, a laptop, a firearm, cash on a surface, or other obvious high-value items are present. No visible target means the risk-reward calculation does not favor entry. Reflective window coverings, the same material used in vehicle windshield sunshades, block outward visibility from all exterior angles during daylight while maintaining full interior visibility from inside the coach. At night, the equation reverses if interior lights are on, so pair this with a light timer or with habit of drawing the coverings before turning on interior lights after dark. A full set for a standard travel trailer costs $20 to $40. Installation and removal takes under 10 minutes. My wife started doing this on the first trip after we had a unit parked near us at an RV park in New Mexico, where someone clearly slow-walked past every unit in the row looking in the windows before we left for dinner. We had nothing left visible. Others did not. Their unit had a side window broken by morning. Trap 18, running a fan to normalize ambient sound inside the unit at night. This one sounds too simple until you understand the mechanism. A background fan creates a consistent broadband noise baseline inside the coach. Against a consistent baseline, anomalous sounds stand out rather than blending in. Footsteps on gravel at the wrong hour, a vehicle pulling slowly through the loop at 2 a.m., the specific sound of someone working a latch or testing a door. All of these register as deviations against a consistent fan baseline in a way they do not against the variable silence of a campground where some noise is always present. Without a baseline, light sleepers wake up to every sound and eventually stop waking up to any of them. Desensitization to nighttime sounds is the failure mode you are trying to avoid. The fan also reduces your own auditory signature. Conversation and movement inside the unit is less detectable from outside when a fan is running, which reduces the amount of behavioral information a patient person outside can gather about your habits and sleep schedule. My wife started running a fan every night at any unfamiliar site years before I understood the reasoning. She was not wrong. She just could not explain it in a way that made sense to me until I thought it through. Trap 19. The departure checklist run completely before every single move. The loss that costs the most is almost always the one that happened in the 15 minutes of hurried departure when you are tired, behind schedule, running late for a reservation at the next stop, or just distracted. A slide partially extended when the unit pulls away. A storage bay left unlatched that swings open at highway speed. A cable lock still on the awning arm when the unit rolls forward. A leveling jack pin that was not removed before hydraulic pressure was applied. Every one of these outcomes has been described in detail by people who lived it in the RV forums, and every one of them was preventable by a 90-second checklist. The checklist itself costs nothing and takes up no space. It lives in a phone note or on a laminated card. All slides confirmed retracted. All storage bays confirmed latched. All cable locks removed. All jack pins removed, all hookups disconnected, shore power coiled, antenna down. Running the list before every departure catches errors that occurred during a busy site breakdown and prevents a $500 roadside repair from a mistake you made in 3 seconds while thinking about something else. The payoff I mentioned at the beginning, the personal property insurance gap that most RV owners discover only when they file a claim and find out it does not cover what they thought it did. Here is the specific version of this problem. Most RV owners assume their RV policy covers everything in the coach the same way a homeowner's policy covers the contents of a house. It does not. A standard RV policy ensures the vehicle structure and the components permanently attached to it. A laptop computer, a camera, a handgun, camping and hiking gear, tools, clothing, and personal valuables stored inside the coach are categorized as personal property and are frequently either excluded entirely from the policy or covered at a nominal sublimit, often $500 to $1,000 total, regardless of the actual value of everything inside. The replacement cost of a well-equipped full-time RV interior can run $10,000 to $30,000 across electronics, gear, tools, and personal items. A $500 sublimit against that exposure is essentially no coverage. The solution is a personal property rider added to the RV policy, which extends coverage to coach contents at replacement value, or in some cases adding the RV as a covered location under an existing homeowner's or renter's policy. Both options require a pre-loss inventory to be functional at claim time. Without an itemized inventory with photographs and approximate values, the claim is settled at the insurance company's estimated value, which is always lower than your actual replacement cost. The documentation session is the foundation that makes the rider pay out correctly when you need it. 19 traps. Most of them cost under $50 to close individually. Several cost nothing but a habit change or an afternoon of attention. The vulnerabilities that catch people are almost never the dramatic ones. They are the small, ignored ones that nobody addressed because nothing had happened yet. Run through this list before the next trip and pick the 2 or 3 that apply specifically to how and where you travel. The generator lock if you have an external generator. The storage bay padlocks if you use your bays for anything valuable. The insurance rider if you have not looked at your policy coverage in more than a year. Those are where the real exposure is, and all 3 combined cost under $100 and 2 phone calls.